Several weeks ago, agencies were taking a look, both media agencies were making recommendations as well as creative agencies to their clients to revisit what the overall messages have been and what's being put out there. So almost immediately, people were revisiting content that had any sort of physical contact or social communication, because obviously in this age where we're social distancing and staying at home, we needed to remove that kind of content. So we've been telling members to be very aware of what are the messages that you're putting out there. We also did some consumer research with a company called Suzy that was on our site about a week and a half ago, just to understand consumer sentiment. What do consumers want to see today? Do they even want to hear from brands? Only 15% said they did not want to hear from brands. Many consumers want to hear from brands on what they're doing to help support the economy, to support jobs, but also what are they doing amidst the coronavirus crisis. I should know that by now. I've been writing that word over and over again. So they do want to hear, but they want to make sure that the messaging is appropriate and relevant. So it's challenging when you can't do any live production with everything going on. So many companies have been resorting to either stock footage or just taking old photography that they've had and revisiting ads, creating new, or even just using like a blue screen background. And I think it's been really interesting to see how creativity can actually flourish amidst chaos, where people are constrained in terms of what they have, but they're making the best of it and they're actually using this moment to communicate the right messages. So I've been really paying attention to how the messaging has pivoted. Early on, I would say if you go back probably 2 weeks ago when many people in the country started working remotely, you were still seeing ads that weren't really reflecting the times that we're in. I've seen a lot of that adjust, and there's even starting to become some ads that are recognizing that we are all at home and using technology like Zoom in our ways to communicate today. So I think more and more you're going to see that kind of pivot to that content, and that will continue.
And what about investment? We're seeing some sort of unpleasant forecasts, which are expected. I wanted to ask you about the investment side, what
Sure.
you're hearing from brands and also from the media buying agencies, sort of what their considerations are now, and some suggestions that perhaps you might have.
Sure. This is an opportunity for marketers to really double down on their commitment and their connection with their customers, with consumers. It's not a good time to take a pause. Continuity is critical right here. So I am hearing that from marketers that they are trying to stay the course. Now, some of these marketers have business that is doing very well right now, and they don't need to be advertising, for example, hand sanitizer or disinfectants. Others recognize that they want to maintain that relationship with their customer. The message is going to be a little bit different. So if you're Ford, you're not necessarily telling people that they should go out and buy a car, but that they're going to work with you when it comes to financing. And so how that shift is taking place, I think, is important, but the continuity is there. And your question about media spend, obviously Magna put out a forecast that shows media spend will be down later this year. There's some flexibility happening right now in some media channels, not in others. So we will see the impact because there's still the unknown of how long is this going on for, what is the true impact, and what will that mean to budgets overall as people are planning. We've started to see what's happening in China and in other parts of Asia where they're coming out of this after a few months. So as people are looking to Q4, maybe even into Q3, we can hopefully start to see a shift. But obviously Q2 will be impacted right now, and that is what we're hearing. Other projects have been put on hold, so not necessarily canceled, but put on hold to wait and see what the true impact is going to be financially.
And Marla, I wanted to ask you, it's a little early to say what some maybe positive outcomes might be. You talked about being nimble and creative. What are some of your hopes that we kind of will enjoy coming out of the end of this thing in a perhaps a positive way that maybe brings the industry in ways that maybe we hadn't expected?
So I think there's really two that I see. One is that it really gets brands to focus in on their true purpose. If ever there was a time to bring people together to show what their true value is for their customers, for their consumers, this is it. And that goes the same for agencies and their clients. This is a real opportunity. I am seeing agencies step up. They are truly shining. They are there to be partners. They are that external perspective, that provocative voice, making sure that they are helping clients through this really challenging time, as agencies have done for over a century. And so what I hope comes out of this is that the strong partnership, the true reminder of what an agency does for a client continues after this, and the value of what that brings is really recognized.